So in today's show, we got massive news as a Florida court blocks police from using the smell of herb alone to search vehicles. And recently, we told you guys about a proposed tax hike over in Michigan. And this morning, Michigan lawmakers approved a whopping 24% tax on the good herb. An American basketball player faces a potential death penalty over medical herb in Indonesia. All that in today's show. First, let's start off in Florida because this is big news.
Police in Florida can no longer search your car just because they say it smells like cannabis. A state appeals court just reversed its earlier ruling, saying changes to marijuana and hemp laws mean the odor is no longer proof of illegal activity. Judges cited Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. The decision stems from a Hillsborough County case where a car search based on smell uncovered marijuana and other drugs.
Now let me explain to you guys why this is big news, and let me get it in before anyone goes crazy in the comments. I do not condone any intoxicated driving, drinking and driving, or smoking and driving. That should not be done. But that said, in the past, police have used the smell of herb in car searches to pull people over and also just to harass people. And sometimes it may lead to other things that they're definitely not supposed to have, but in other situations it's definitely just an abuse of power. And in a situation where more and more states are becoming legal and getting on board with the good herb, the smell alone should definitely not be used alone as a stand-alone reason to search a vehicle. Now, if there are other things like the tints are too dark or a busted headlight, registration is expired, something like that, then that's a whole nother story. But just to pull someone over and say they were driving past and I smell something funny, and guys, trust me, that happens. I've seen enough body camera footage.
To Florida now, where state law has ruled law enforcement cannot search your car based only on the smell of marijuana. The district court issued an opinion overturning a lower court's decision that upheld the plain smell doctrine. This rule has long permitted the smell of marijuana to be used as a probable cause to search a person's car. The court said while that made sense in the past, the state's current laws have fundamentally changed, referencing the legalization of hemp and medical marijuana in Florida. The ruling was met with some pushback, with some warning the ruling could undermine road safety.
Now this is pretty interesting, and even though it may seem like a massive win, there's certain counties and certain places in Florida that may not necessarily accord to that ruling, and I'll show you guys in a bit. But let's dig in a little bit more to see what this ruling actually means.
Yeah, Police Chief Rick Hawthorne from here in Gulf Breeze says while this may make life a little bit more difficult for their officers, he says nothing for them is really going to change.
The Florida Appeals Court cited the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, which protects against unnecessary searches and seizures when they made their decision on Wednesday. Florida law enforcement now needs more than just a smell to search your car.
Things have changed in the state of Florida. We now have medical marijuana cards. We have different forms of marijuana that are legal versus illegal, and you can't make that determination based on smell alone. So they have a good justification for changing their reasoning because the state of affairs has changed.
9 other judges joined and agreed with the ruling. Just one disagreed. Judge Craig Valenti. He wrote changes over the past decade to allow medical marijuana and hemp products did not wholesale decriminalize the possession of marijuana. Valenti then pointed out safety concerns related to driving while impaired.
But it's something that I think's been coming for a while.
Chief Rick Hawthorne with Gulf Breeze Police says the ruling doesn't change much for them.
I don't think it's going to change much. Most agencies right now probably do the odor plus rule, which is you smell the marijuana, but now you have to find other indications that there's something illegal going on.
Chief Hawthorne believes this will be challenged in the higher courts.
I'm almost positive this will go to the Supreme Court. But, you know, with the way legislation's going, trying to pass, making marijuana legal and everything, who knows what'll happen.
So for a lot of those police officers over in Florida, they say it's business as usual. Nothing is actually going to change a whole lot for them. And for certain places in Florida, it actually means nothing changes at all.
So a Florida court just ruled that the smell of marijuana is no longer a good enough reason for a cop to search your car, which sounds huge and it sounds like a big deal, but in reality, Palm Beach County won't be affected by this. They have their own rules here, and that does not apply unless the Florida Supreme Court decides to take it up. And we just spoke with a criminal defense attorney who says another reality would be if a cop feels like they should search your car, they'll probably find a different reason to do so.
So as I said earlier, police would probably find some other reason to pull you over if they really wanted to. Now here's an example of someone who actually found themselves in this very situation. Check it out.
It's a case that started in Hillsborough County. Daryl Williams was on probation and riding passenger in a car when a deputy pulled it over for not making a complete stop. The deputy then said he smelled marijuana.
I've handled many cases where a search was deemed lawful based solely on the smell of marijuana.
They found marijuana and other drugs, and Williams was sent back to prison. But on appeal to Tampa Bay's 2nd District, judges overturned his conviction, saying for pot, its mere odor can no longer establish that it is immediately apparent that the substance is contraband, because it could be legally prescribed.
If they're lawfully able to transport it, it shouldn't be the basis alone to be able to actually effectuate a search on a vehicle.
Now you all see how crazy that is. The police will pull you over even for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign. So they will literally find any reason to pull you over. So even though it's a little bit of a win, the police will still find a reason to pull you over. So you guys just gotta be really careful. So despite headlines like these looking really great, this is why we try to show you guys what both sides are saying so you guys can come to the bottom line and make an educated decision. Now recently we told you guys about over in Michigan where they're proposing to hike that tax on the good herb up to 24%. That's a whopping number. And that seems to be a little bit of a trend across a lot of states. We've seen over in California, they also tried to hike the tax up to almost 25%. And what also seems to be a trend is this government shutdown. A lot of you guys know the federal government is currently shut down. One side is shutting the government down because they're not getting what they want. And that's pretty much what we're seeing over in Michigan as well, as the Michigan House Speaker also threatens to shut down the government if the taxes are not increased. Now just let that sink in, guys. He wants those taxes to be increased. Otherwise, they're going to shut everything down.
Michigan taxes are set to go up for marijuana wholesalers starting in January. That is if the state Senate does not make any last-minute changes to the proposed state budget. Reporter Faith Zahowski, she talked to a local dispensary owner to see what this could mean for them.
Business is booming. It seems that year after year, we're seeing more and more growth.
Sean Evans is a bud tender at Herb Cannabis in Monroe. And while business is great, he says a proposed bill could hurt wholesalers in the industry come January. The Michigan House has voted to increase the wholesale tax on marijuana from 15% to 24% as part of the state's budget.
Almost looking at doubling what the taxes are already. So you raise taxes and now profits are gone.
Michigan State Representative William Bruck says the estimated amount of money to come from this increase is $420 million. And where is it going to? Bruck says directly to the road funding plan.
I think it right sizes that industry, when compared to other states. And I don't think it's outlandish to say that this is, we're going to be in that top third of taxation on this product.
In that comparison to other states, Michigan's retail tax is 10% to Ohio's 30%. And although retail tax will remain the same, here's how the increase in wholesale tax could still affect the price customers see.
It's not a tax on the customer, but really it will be. What we are going to end up seeing is still a raise in prices to the customer because it's costing wholesale on the back end. That cost is just going to be kind of turned down the line, and eventually it's going to end up in the pockets of the consumer.
And that's exactly what it's going to be. Increased prices for the consumers. Because even if they raise taxes on certain things on the back end, such as transport, wholesale, all that type of stuff, it's going to impact the bottom line when it comes to the consumer's price at the till, at the cash register. And I don't know if they're just trolling the cannabis community, but they're saying that the tax increase could generate $420 million. Wink, wink, 420. Ooh, we gotta pay more. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. But according to this, and I quote, after much hand-wringing and consternation from lawmakers who fear the detrimental effects of Michigan's cannabis industry, the Michigan Senate voted early Friday morning by a thin margin to pass a 24% wholesale tax on products related to the good herbs sold in the state. The measure is estimated to raise $420 million in new revenue to fund road repairs and construction in the new fiscal year, a key component of the budget deal reached by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and the people in the industry are not happy, and they actually warned that a 24% tax could kill the industry.
Detroit's cannabis industry is fighting back. The state is floating a new 24% wholesale tax on marijuana to pay for the roads. This is on top of an already high retail price, and owners are warning if this goes through, many shops will simply not make it. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Michigan's cannabis industry is huge, bringing in billions for the state. Data from the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency shows last year the state gathered more than $10 billion from recreational and medical marijuana sales. Marijuana sales already face a 6% sales tax and a 10% excise tax for recreational marijuana.
Yeah, this new bill would keep those in place and add a 24% wholesale tax. That's something businesses would have to pay when they buy products from distributors. Victor Williams spent the night at a forum with the Detroit Cannabis Industry Association. Victor, cannabis owners argue this new tax could push customers right back to the black market.
Ty, that's totally correct. At this point, the people that we spoke to, they're saying that this is something they definitely don't want to see. So take a listen for yourself.
This tax right here they trying to impose is going to shake up the whole industry.
Smokers may have to spend a little more to keep that spark going when it comes down to marijuana if a certain bill passes.
To put this tax on us as a consumer, when we already generate more revenue than the alcohol industry, is ridiculous.
House Bill 4951 is a proposal that would place a 24% wholesale tax on Michigan's cannabis industry. We're talking about businesses, jobs, and equity licensees all rolled up into one, with the money going towards highway repairs. That's on top of the 16% tax they're already paying. That would add up to a whopping 40%.
6% sales tax and a 10% excise tax, so that's 40%.
So you guys see how lawmakers can push these things. They tell you, oh, it's just a small increase. It's just from 16 to 24. Mind you, that is a large increase. But then they don't tell you that those taxes are being stacked. And when you look at your bill at the end of the day, you're paying up to 40% in taxes. That's absolutely mind-blowing. Now, I want to show you guys what some of those Michigan lawmakers have to say about this tax and also what they're actually using some of those taxes for, because we know they're claiming to use it to fix the roads. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL, it works on the bundle and the beans.
Using pots for potholes is sparking controversy inside the state capitol. Number State Capitol reporter Alana Johnson breaking down how a vote on a marijuana tax could stall the entire state budget process. When Republican Speaker of the House Matt Hall was asked if Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks couldn't get enough votes for the marijuana tax for roads, Hall warned the consequences could be serious.
Well, then the government will shut down.
The proposed 24% wholesale tax on marijuana could bring the state $420 million a year, money going directly to funding road projects.
24% we thought was a better solution to find that balance between what will raise the revenue needed for the roads and what will not decimate the industry.
Now, thankfully, folks in the industry, patients, consumers, business owners, all of them came out in opposition to this proposed tax hike. And I'm going to show you guys that in a bit because it's beautiful. But before we do, I want to show you guys what some of these places are in fact using the tax revenue for, things like welcome signs.
It's new at 6. Communities across Michigan have marijuana dispensaries, and with legal weed comes taxes. According to the Michigan Department of Treasury, more than $87 million was distributed among nearly 270 municipalities and counties across the state from last year's sales. TV5's Zane O'Meara shows us how the city of Davison is using its share to say hi.
Soon, signs like this one welcoming people into Davison will be switched out with new ones, all paid for by the city's marijuana tax revenue.
Instead of just throwing that money into something else and into the general fund, it's like we're gonna show you a difference in the community with this money.
A new welcome in the works for the city of Davison. Davison City Council approving the use of marijuana tax revenue for new signage at the north, south, east, and western city limits.
The ones we have now are a little old and outdated, and the one that we have at the south end is a little small and gets unnoticed.
So you guys heard it there for yourselves, using some of the tax revenue to upgrade and update some of these signs. Now, the signage may not necessarily be the best. You guys can see this one is a little bit old, and the other one that they showed us is maybe a little bit small according to what they said. But the fact is, they told us in the beginning it's going to be used for the roads. So why is it now being said that they're using it for the signs? Otherwise, it's just going to go back into the general fund.
Instead of just throwing that money into something else and into the general fund, this probably would not have been on our radar just yet to do these signs. So when you get that extra money, it's just extra money. It's taxed money that's coming in, but it's like a little bonus that we get. And I feel, and there's other people on council and the administration feel that, let's throw this money back out there instead of just throwing it in over here.
Now, this guy sort of reminds me of what Governor Polis wanted to do over in Colorado, where he was going to spend tons of taxpayer dollars to build a massive bridge outside of the Capitol that no one asked for, but they were going to have to pay for. Meanwhile, the roads were in a complete mess and people are still asking, why not using the taxes to fix the potholes? Now, some folks may be behind upgrading the signs and definitely fixing the roads, but increasing taxes and then saying, oh, we're just going to use this money for some of our pet projects, that can definitely piss some people off. And that's exactly what happened, because a lot of folks actually stood up against that tax hike down at the Capitol. Check it out.
Outside the state capitol, supporters of the cannabis industry gathered to fight a proposed 24% tax on marijuana.
We're a community. We stand together. We stick together. We all are very passionate about what we do. We're very passionate about our people.
The House approved this tax last week. Now it's up to the Senate to decide. The money from this tax would help pay for road repairs.
The impact is going to be really huge. I mean, right now the margins are slim as they are already, and I don't think they really know how thin the margins are. And so Michigan's a volume state. If you take away our ability to push volume in this state, it's going to cripple, completely flatten our industry.
Inside the Capitol, members of the Michigan Laborers District Council are pushing lawmakers to keep road funding a top priority.
We're here today just to talk with legislators and remind folks of the importance of executing the agreed upon deal between the legislative leadership and the governor on the $1.85 billion road funding plan.
So here's the problem, guys. They're always taxing the good herb. They're saying it's going to be used for tons of reasons, such as road work, and the roads are not being fixed. I mean, have a look at them. It looks absolutely crazy. My homie Rob from COTV said the roads in Michigan are not great. So here's the kicker. Where is the money going then? You guys are now increasing the taxes once again and saying we're still using it to fix the roads, while certain counties and cities are using it for pet projects like upgrading signs. So the truth is, you gotta follow the money, guys. Now, as if that story was not crazy enough, we also got news that an American basketball player faces potential death penalty over medical herb arrest in Indonesia. Now, this story is completely crazy, and it shows how things can really differ across jurisdictions.
New tonight, a former Utah State basketball player is facing drug charges in Indonesia and could be facing a death sentence. 34-year-old Dallas native Jared Shaw was arrested in Jakarta last week. Police say he tried to smuggle drugs into the country after they found more than 100 pieces of THC-laced cannabis candies in his apartment. According to Indonesian officials, Shaw could receive a life sentence or even the death penalty if he's convicted. Shaw has spent the last 3 years in the country playing basketball for the Indonesian Basketball Association. His team says his contract has now been terminated. Shaw played college basketball here in the U.S. at Oklahoma State and at Utah State between 2009 and 2014.
So again, guys, this is absolutely crazy. And Shaw, who was a basketball player, a professional basketball player, he was found with gummies, edibles. And in this situation, he's actually was playing internationally for a team, and he helped secure victory in the 2023 Indonesian Basketball League. And he was arrested, and these gummies were found at his home, at his private residence. Now, here's the thing, guys. Indonesia has extremely punitive drug laws. They're really strict, and the crime carries the possibility of capital punishment. And even in this situation, you guys can see the death penalty is being touted. Now, Shaw conceded in an interview with The Guardian that was published last Friday that he made a stupid mistake, but explained that he uses the good herb and these edibles to treat symptoms of his gastrointestinal issues. Now, the crazy thing is not like they found pounds and pounds of flour, but just a few edibles. And the thing is, he was arrested, and the arrest footage is pretty chilling. Check it out.
This is Jared Shaw from Dallas calling for help as he is being arrested in Indonesia. His face blurred by the police taking the video. The 6'10" Carter High School and then Utah State player went undrafted in 2014, but found success overseas, most recently in the Indonesian Basketball League, until his arrest in Tangerang, Indonesia, just outside Jakarta.
So again, this clearly shows that despite many states in America legalizing the good herb, there are a lot of countries who still frown upon it or straight up will punish you for it. And in this situation, it's really unfortunate to see this happening, and I really hope that he does not get the death penalty for something as simple as the good herb. But let me know what you guys think about all that, because this story is absolutely crazy. Now, all that said, let me know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's show, from that crazy tax hike that's being proposed over in Michigan to the decision down in Florida that the cops can no longer search your car based off of smell of the good herb, and also what you guys think about the American basketball player that's potentially facing the death penalty over in Indonesia. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, in our next video, there's something that a lot of you guys would have probably heard about unless you're living under a rock, and that is the government shutdown. And we break down how the government shutdown can affect the cannabis community, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out because it's coming up right now.